What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are taking a look at Lost Box. Now, we're not taking a look at the exact 60 that Andrew Estrada just played to win Pittsburgh Regionals, but we are going to be playing Lost Box Kyogre today. Now, just keep in mind real quick, I don't play Pokestop in this list. This is the list that did the highest placing when it came to Worlds. So I took inspiration from that list. I don't play Pokestop. I would recommend playing Pokestop, because it just speeds up the process rather than it kind of being slow, but just keep that in mind. But if you guys aren't sure what Lost Box is by now, the engine behind it is using Comfey. Comfey has the ability Flower Selecting. Once during your turn, if it's in your active spot, you look at the top 2 cards of your deck, put 1 into your hand and 1 into your Lost Zone. So you play 4 of those, and then by the time you get to 10, you have the ability to use Lost Mine with Sableye, which means that if you have 10 or more Lost Zone cards in the Lost Zone, you gain the ability to put 12 damage counters on your opponent's board. Now, 12 damage counters doesn't seem like a lot, but when you pair it with something like Kyogre with the Aqua Storm attack, it adds up very quickly. Aqua Storm, discard the top 5 cards of your deck, and then choose 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. This attack does 50 damage for each energy card you discard in this way to those Pokemon. So you pretty much set it up to where you take 2 prizes, and then towards the end, you set it up to where Kyogre can take 4 prizes in a single turn, which means that you gain the ability to kind of fuel everything. With that, we're playing 4 Colorless Experiment to look at the top 5, put 3 in your hand, 2 in the Lost Zone to finish building it up. We play Rock Sand because you are a single prize deck, unless you have to swing with Dragonite or with Raikou. So it means that you get to punish your opponent for taking prizes, set them back, and you get to draw out your hand, which means that it gives you the chance to set up Kyogre. We're also playing Energy Recycler as well as Super Rod. Energy Recycler allows you to just shuffle 5 energy back in, and then Super Rod lets you get Pokemon as well as basic energy. So the whole plan on the end game is to basically mill yourself, attach for turn, shuffle 7 energy back into the deck, use Mirage Gate to power up Kyogre, and then that way you have a fully powered Kyogre that is going to guarantee 250 damage. So with that being said, the deck profile and deck list will be popping up right now, and then the deck will also be in the description for you guys to copy and paste. Now, I am going to just copy in the deck list I have, and due to it being high rarity cards, you might have to switch a couple things. But I will say, though, thank you guys for all of the support. If you guys do enjoy today's video, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I'll catch you guys in the gameplay. Later. Alrighty, guys. So here we are playing the first game with Turbo Lost Box. Now, we aren't playing the Pokestops, which could be helpful, but I don't think that we're going to fully need them. I think we can be consistent enough to get through it. And as long as we have access to Comfeys and, you know, seeing some cards every turn, we should be okay. So we are playing against Azareth, number 1. Starting with Comfey, our hand not looking too great, but if we do get something like Battle VIP Pass, we do have quite a few ways to retreat, looking at multiple Comfeys and setting up the further turns. So, not too sure what our opponent is going to be playing, but at the end of the day, it's just hopeful that we can set up something like that. The play in order to take KOs with Giratina. So it seems like we're playing against Darkrai. Now looking at this, I'm not sure how many Mirage Gates we have left, so I'm going to take this one just to be safe. And unfortunately, there's not much else that we actually get to do this turn. I'm going to bench the Sableye just so that way I don't risk getting benched out. And honestly, we're just going to have to pass. I don't think my opponent's going to be able to take a knockout. But we will see. Now, if my opponent doesn't play anything down like the Manaphy, then we'll be okay. My opponent is searching for 4 Dark Energy using that Ultra Ball, so they probably do have a couple Dark Patch in hand, or potentially something like that Squawk ability. So there's the Malevolent Charge. Moltres going to be able to attach 2 energy, and there's the Dark Patch. Now if my opponent has something like Switch, then they can hit damage. Alright, so no Switch or anything, which is good. Drawing a third Mirage Gate, so 3 of our Mirage Gates have been in the top few cards of our deck. And I think, honestly, this hand and the way that things are going, I don't think it's going to go very well. We'll have to see, though. My opponent doesn't have any way to potentially hit the bench, so we're just going to have to keep passing until we can hit something in order to start popping the turn off. We're not doing a very good job of milling, though. So just taking it turn by turn, and my opponent passing as well, so they don't have good cards. And we do get a second Comfey, which is perfect. Now we can start seeing more, and we gain access to that Lost Vacuum, meaning that if we get something like a Stadium, we will be good to go. So I'm going to save the switch cards just in case. We'll use our manual retreat into Comfey using the Flower Selecting. And Flower Selecting making us choose between 2 energy, so we will just grab the water. Just so that way we know for sure that we have waters. And honestly, just passing. Going to be slowly but surely building up our lost zone. We are at 4. So if we do hit something like a Stadium as well as a Chorus, we can actually set up to 10 and then can start taking some knockouts. With Sableye potentially can KO that Galarian Moltres, which does make things super annoying if we start taking prizes. So my opponent is going to be able to use that Darkrai V-Star, power up his board. And there's a switch, so switch is going to allow my opponent to take a knockout. Now I'm wishing I would have grabbed the escape rope, but it's not the end of the world. Darkrai is just going to make things a little bit more awkward for us, but it's not the end of the world. My opponent going for the Dark Pulse for 150 damage, and now more than ever with my opponent being able to attack, I need to find a way to start filling up my lost zone. We get Energy Recycler, a useless card. So there's the Flower Selecting, grabbing the Forest Seal Stone and a Nest Ball. I'm gonna grab the Nest Ball, I guess, because Nest Ball means we can grab Greninja, which means we can look at a few more cards. So we'll grab that Radiant Greninja, use the Greninja, get rid of a Psychic Energy, drawing us 2 cards. We do get Forest Seal Stone, but nothing that's quite useful. And honestly, in order to kind of sack what we need, we do have access to Clara, which could get us another Comfey, which I don't hate. So we'll use the Clara, just getting the energies back as well as the Comfey. And then what we can do is attach. We can retreat. A slow but steady game. Use that Flower Selecting, grabbing the switch card again. And then what we're going to have to do is just use a switch card to get rid of a Manaphy. And we do have 6, so we could have the potential for 10 next turn, depending on how these Comfey searches go. But we're going to have to see what we can do if my opponent gets something like a Boss's Orders, and KOs a Comfey. Be a bit unfortunate, but it's not the end of the world. We also do have access to Dragonite. But I don't think that there's too much we're gonna be able to do. We have to find a way to push our opponent's Darkrai to the bench as well, but we do have access to escape ropes. There's only 1 down, so we still have 2. So my opponent just going all in using that Dark Patch. And there is the Dark Pulse for 210 damage, putting us in a super awkward spot. Just taking prizes one at a time, which means we need to start doing stuff now. So we'll use the Flower Selecting. Gonna grab the Cramorant just so we can start putting some damage on the board. We can use the concealed cards. We'll get rid of the Water Energy, getting Kyogre and Dragonite. So we do have access to swinging with Dragonite, which is good. We can hit for 250 damage, but the only issue is that Dragonite is going to go down, and we're not in a position yet to take any potential knockouts. But we do have access to the Forest Seal Stone, which means that we could grab a Stadium or anything else that we please. I'm going to use a switch cart into the Comfey just to potentially hit a Colress or anything else. So we do get Energy Recycler as well as Water. I could power up the Radiant Greninja as well, which I don't hate. Getting rid of an Energy Recycler is a bit awkward, but we do have access to one more, so... now is the time when we figure out exactly what it is we're gonna do. So I could go 90-90, and then take some knockouts next turn with the Sableye, which I don't hate. And I think that's honestly the best route for me to go, because we are at 8. So we'll use that Mirage Gate. We'll grab the energies, putting 2 on the Greninja, attaching for turn. Then we can use the switch cart into the Radiant Greninja. It will be KO'd, but I think we've drawn through enough of our deck that we'll be okay. And we do have the Forest Seal Stone as well. So we can use the Moonlight Shuriken. We can go 90-90. Next turn, going to be able to use Sableye, take some knockouts on these 2. And then go from there, potentially bench our opponent, but my opponent is going to be able to kind of do a lot. Our prizes right here, though, are what we're really going to go for. If we can set up the Kyogre play, then we do gain the ability to win in the next 2 to 3 turns. Because we can take 2 knockouts here, put 30 on this Darkrai to put it to 240, and then Kyogre can finish off both of the Darkrai's. So we're really going to have to kind of play it safe. I need to hit something like a Colress in order to finish fueling up the Lost Zone. It's going to be a bit tricky. So there's the Star Abyss, so my opponent going to be able to get 2 item cards back. They do get the energy retrieval as well as something else. It's a shame that Kyogre only hits bench Pokemon, though. Alrighty, now for the moment of truth in what we can do. We have to hit Comfey, we need a way to retreat, we do have 5 energy, and we'll promote the Comfey. We do have 2 energy in here as well, and we do top deck a water energy, so not looking too good on the energy side of things. We'll use that flower selecting. There is Artisan as well. So with the Artisan, we can actually use our Lost Vacuum in order to fuel our Lost Zone, and then we can potentially set up exactly how we want to. So we'll play down the Artisan. Artisan to search. Just making sure that we have everything we need. So we do have an escape rope to push to the bench. We do have 2 energy. Means that we do gain access to searching. We do have access to 3 Colress as well. So get the Comfey down. And then we can use the Lost Vacuum, getting rid of a Comfey to get rid of the Artisan. And this should put us at the 10, so we're at 11, which is perfect. We can use 1 Mirage Gate in order to grab the energies, and we can go a Psychic and a Lightning energy. We can retreat, and we can actually use Dragonite, and with Dragonite we do gain the ability to grab something like the Colress, which I don't hate, so we'll grab the Colress. And then hopefully after this Colress don't hit anything too awkward. So let's see. We'll grab the Colress, we'll grab the switch cart, and we'll grab the Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn could be beneficial in what we want to do. And then we'll use the Lost Mine, putting 30 on the Moltres, and then we'll go 30, 60, and then we'll put the rest on this Darkrai. And now we just need to make sure that we can either KO another Darkrai if my opponent benches one, or we can take some prizes. And we do get another escape rope, which is good. Means that if my opponent doesn't power up their Darkrai, we can actually set up for the next turn. There is the other Malevolent Charge, Galarian Moltres, attaching 2 more Dark Energy. So it seems like my opponent's playing all the Dark Energy in the book. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Playing 12 Dark Energy. And I'm pretty sure if I use Escape Rope, my opponent is going to bring up something like the Galarian Moltres, so means that these get pushed to the bench, which means that we can do what we want to do. And as I said before, we do have access to the Comfey, so we can actually get rid of our whole deck, and then we just need to make sure that we have enough energy to put into the deck in order to set up Kyogre. So we should be able to win next turn, providing that we pivot it into the right spot. My opponent getting rid of Charmander and Charmeleon. And there is the Darkrai coming down. My opponent going to be able to use that Dark Pulse, taking a prize card. And now we do have 7 energy. And we'll promote the Comfey. And we should be able to win now. So we can bench the Kyogre. We can use the Comfey. Grabbing that Super Rod. We can... let's see. We'll use the Escape Rope now, just to make sure before we thin our whole entire deck that my opponent doesn't bring up something like this Darkrai V-Star. That would be the best play for them to do, but I really hope that they don't do it, because then it means that the Kyogre can take the KO. So, okay, bringing up Greninja. So now we do have the KO. It means that we can go Colress, and Colress will allow us to just grab 3 cards, Lost Zoning 1, which means that now we can attach the Water Energy, use the Energy Recycler, putting back all of the energy. We can use the Super Rod to put back the rest of the energy. And then the Mirage Gate in order to grab 2. Putting it onto the Kyogre. And then now we can use the Aqua Storm in order to take the knockout. So we can do 250 and 250. Taking 4 prizes in one single turn. And winning us the game. So off the prizes we get Battle VIP Pass and Raikou. And then we also get Colress and Artisan. So with that being said, guys, that was game 1. Let's see if we can try and do the same thing going right into a game number 2. Alrighty guys, getting into game number 2 here. Hopefully can make a repeat of what we did within game number 1. Using that Kyogre to take the win, but if not, we do have access to other ways to win. But the Kyogre play, I will say it is a ton of fun, especially when you do the math right and can get everything to work out how you want it to. So my opponent is going to go first. Not too bad for us, as it does give us access to things like Colress, and if we had started a Pokemon, this hand would have been amazing. But unfortunately, we don't start one, but it's not the end of the world. And we do actually mulligan 3 times, surprisingly. But we do start Comfey, as well as Switch Cards and the Battle VIP Pass, as well as Cramorant. So we actually might be able to take a early knockout, depending on what my opponent starts with here. Cramorant being able to hit 110 damage, and we can actually take a knockout on this Manaphy, potentially. So if we can do that, then we set up exactly what we need. Now Cramorant is going to be kind of important in this matchup, as it means that we can put the Charizards down to the 220 range. And if we actually hit something like Escape Rope, we can bring up the Charmander, so not too bad if I do say so myself, considering this hand. Again, it's not the best, it's not the worst, but it definitely is playable. We do top deck Energy Recycler. We use that Battle VIP pass first, grabbing a Comfey, so there's one prized. And we do have the Raikou in our hand. Let's just check and see what else is prized. We have a Roxanne in our hand. We have an Energy Recycler in our hand. We have one Battle VIP pass prized. We do have a Switch Cart prized. We have a Mirage Gate in our hand. Super Rod is prized, as well as an Artisan. Then we have 5-3-3, or we have 5-2-3, so we have a Psychic prized as well. So nothing that's too detrimental, but definitely going to be on the sucky end of things. So we'll grab the Switch Cart. Switch Cart is going to allow us to go into the Comfey, potentially getting an energy in order to use that Greninja. And even better, we do actually get the Force Seal Stone, which means now what we can do is bench the Raikou. Raikou can grab the Force Seal Stone. We can use the Star Alchemy in order to grab something like that Colress, which will allow us to look at more cards to Lost Zone them. And we do get Escape Rope as well, which is super beneficial. And I'm okay with getting rid of a Roxanne and a Mirage Gate. We do have access to all of our Mirage Gates, so having 3 is fine. And then now what we can do is bench the Cramorant. We can use the concealed cards to draw some more, and we do actually gain access to Comfey as well. So we can actually go through our whole board with Comfeys. Do I need to overextend that much? It might be a good idea for us to do so, just because it thins our deck out more. So I think that's what we'll go with. So we'll use the Comfey again, using that Flower Selecting, grabbing us the Water Energy, just so that way next turn we do have something to discard. And now we can use the Escape Rope, bringing up that Cramorant, taking a knockout, and taking the first prize card of the game. My opponent's turn 1 start, very lackluster, but and we actually get Super Rod, which is probably one of the best prizes we could have gotten. So my opponent's start was a bit lackluster, but considering, you know, what they can do, I'm not too worried. Manaphy being in the active, if my opponent decides not to retreat it, means we can get rid of the Manaphy and then go into something like Sableye, as we do still have one Sableye, so we can go Sableye, put some damage counters on those pesky little Charmander or Charizard as they come out. So next turn, if we can actually hit 10 in the Lost Zone, we do gain a very good ability to be able to set up a Sableye, but unfortunately we don't have access to it, so we're just going to use the concealed cards, drawing 2, hitting the Psychic Energy, and I think honestly what we're going to do now, let's see, I could attach Retreat. There is 5 in the Lost Zone. I could put 7 total and then play down my own Artisan and go from there. But I feel like I'm in a good enough spot right now where I can just use Cramorant and take some prizes. We do get Comfey as well. So Comfey, again, not a bad card for us to get. My opponent is going to possibly be able to evolve into that Charizard, but thankfully with Raikou, we will be able to set up in order for us to take a knockout. Well, not take a knockout with Raikou, but do enough to where then Kyogre can come in and finish the knockout. So our game plan here is probably going for a Charizard and then that Pidgeot, depending on what my opponent decides to do. My opponent can't evolve either the Pidgey or the Pidgeot, or sorry, either the Pidgey or benches another Charmander. There is access to Sableye next turn, and I feel pretty strongly that we can get to 7, so my opponent using the Infernal Rain, being able to search for a couple Fire Energy, attach them. Probably going to go 2 and 2. And and then going to be able to take a knockout from there. And my opponent grabbing the Artisan, using the Artisan, grabbing the Charmander, so we can actually set up a Sableye potentially next turn, taking 2 prizes, to which we can then set up and try to take a knockout on the Arceus. So I don't actually hate the idea of doing that, so we will bring up that Comfey and try to see what we can do. And we do get access to Colress, which means that we should be able to set up what we need. Let's see. So we have fire and water and lightning. We've gotten rid of no energy so far, and we have one of each. I'm gonna take the water energy just to play it safe. And we can actually set up the Greninja as well if we wanted to, but I think the Lost Mine with Sableye will do us a little bit better. We'll use the concealed cards, getting rid of the water energy, getting Colress and Psychic. Now we can use that Colress. Colress will allow us to grab these 3 cards. I don't need Manaphy. Dragonite is a good addition, so let's see. How many are we at now? 8, and we can get 9 with Comfey into 10 with the Lost Vacuum. So that looks pretty good to me. So this means that what we can do now is use the Artisan to grab Sableye. We can use the Lost Vacuum, getting rid of that Dragonite. I don't think Dragonite's going to be as useful right now. We can get rid of the Artisan. And then what we can do now, use the Escape Rope. My opponent is going to bring up something, but whatever they bring up, we're still going to take 2 prizes. And then we can go from there for the rest of it. So there is the Comfey. I don't think I've used... I did. Okay. I thought I had more than one. I thought I only had 1 Colress. We'll grab the Energy Recycler. And now this does put us at the 10. Which means that what we can do now... I should have Psychics in the deck. I do. I believe I do. Let's see. You know what? I know I have energy in the deck, so I can still hard retreat. So we'll use the Mirage Gate, grabbing a water, attaching to the Comfey, and then now we can retreat. Is there any other cards that we need to use? I don't believe so. And now we can use the Lost Mine, putting 40, 20, 30, 20, 10. Taking the KO on the Charmander as well as the Pidgey. And the good thing is if my opponent benches 2 more 1-prizers, then we can take the knockout with Kyogre next turn, providing we can draw through the rest of our deck. Pretty sure we'll be able to. So, and even then, I don't think my opponent is going to be able to win in 2 turns, so we should be okay. There's the Fire Energy onto Arceus. And now my opponent has a decision to make with this Starbirth. I should have, let's see, I have 2 escape ropes down. There's 1 in the Lost Zone. Let's see. I have 12 damage counters to work with, so if I put this to 350, that's, or 250, that's 80, and then I can put this to 240, and that's 120 damage total, which means Sableye can set up the range for the Charizard to be KO'd by the Kyogre. We can also just hit 110 with something like Cramorant, but it's not the end of the world. Thankfully, we do actually have the ability to set up a strong turn next turn. So, my opponent going for the knockout, taking 1 prize card. So we do have Comfey. We get that Nest Ball. Nest Ball, I'm not going to grab anything, just want to double check making sure what I have in deck. So we do have access to a Mirage Gate. So what we can do now is we can use the concealed cards. We can go discard a Lightning Energy. And let's see, is there anything else that we need to do? Colorless Experiment, we can grab the Clara, Super Rod, and the Water. Not really anything else that we need to thin. And then we can actually set up a Sableye in order to set up the damage that we need to. And the way I'm going to do it is probably the 80 and 40, just because then that means regardless of what my opponent attacks with, we can take the last two prizes. So making sure that I can do this how I need to. We'll use the Super Rod. Super Rod will bring back the Sableye, and then we'll get back the energies. And then what we can do is we can play down the Artisan. Artisan will grab us the Sableye. And then we can use the Mirage Gate. We'll leave the waters in here just so that way I can potentially draw into them attach. So we'll attach to the Sableye. We'll go here into the draw, so we'll retreat. Go into the Sableye. Just so that way my opponent doesn't gain access to that Artisan. We'll use our own Lost Vacuum, getting rid of the Comfey. Meaning we can get rid of the Artisan. And now, we can use that Lost Mine attack. Go 40 and then 30, 50, 80. So 250 plus 80 is 330. And then this RCS has 240 left. So now regardless, we set up so that way Kyogre can do its thing and take the knockouts that we need it to. And we do have 6 cards left in deck. We're going to have the draw for turn. We're going to have the Comfey as well. And we do have the 2 energy recyclers, so we can actually set up depending on how this thing goes. What we might have to do, well, we do have access to Super Rod as well, so we can attach retreat and then Super Rod the energy back in for the Comfey. We just have to make sure that we can draw cards that we need to draw. So my opponent getting that quick search off on the Pidgeot. And I don't think that there is any way that my opponent can win this game. I think that this game is set now. I think it's just a matter of us getting rid of our Pokemon. Or not Pokemon, getting rid of our energy and thinning our deck. So my opponent going into the retreat. So now we only need to set up the Kyogre and go from there. Now I could have used Sableye in order to take the KO on something like the Pidgey, so that way it wasn't a Pidgeot, but I'm far enough ahead in this game that all it means is I have to set up the Kyogre and we are good to go for the whole rest of the game. And let's see, I've gone through 2 switch cards, so there is a chance that I could have one. My opponent going for the Raikou, that's perfectly fine too. I'm not worried about that at all. So we've gone through 2 switch cards. There's one in the prizes, I believe, or there's still one in the deck. If there's one in the deck, we should be able to set it up this turn. But yeah, I think this is pretty solid. I think we've done exactly what we needed to, and we do gain access to the switch card, which means now we should be able to kind of figure out what we need. So there is the Mirage Gate and the water. Let's see, I have the waters in the discard, so I don't need to worry. I do need the Mirage Gate though. We're gonna nest ball just to see what else is in the deck. Is there anything that we need? I don't think so, which means now what we can do is we can go, let's see, we're at 5 energy. We only need 7 total. There's a right way and a wrong way to do this. We'll use the concealed cards, getting rid of that psychic, drawing us the water energy. So now what this means is that let's see. Is there anything else that I can do this turn, or can I just safely pass? I feel like I can pass. I don't think there's anything else that I need to do. I think I just need to draw this last card next turn and then I win. 'Cause I'm not too sure what it is, but I need to shuffle the energy in and go from there. So we're just going to pass right here. My opponent's going to take one prize, and then we set up the Kyogre. I didn't want to risk wasting the Mirage Gate, and then there possibly this not being an energy, which I know it's not because I drew the water. So, I could have benched the Kyogre, attached, shuffled back in with Super Rod, Mirage Gate, and then actually use the Radiant Greninja to thin, and then have 5 left. So I could have done it that turn. My sequencing was just a bit off, but it's not the end of the world. We still do have the game next turn, so there's a double turbo on the Pidgeot, and if my opponent decides to retreat and go into Pidgeot, we can actually take 4 prizes next turn, which is insane to think about. So there's another boss's orders, bringing up the Sableye, which is fine. As I mentioned before, we do gain the ability to set up the Kyogre this turn, which means that we can do exactly what we need to do. So we'll promote the Comfey, drawing the last card. It was for Seal Stone, so I'm glad that I didn't do anything. Kyogre. So we go attach. And we need 7 energy total, which means we energy recycler, putting all of these energy back. Using the energy recycler once more. Go into the Mirage Gate, grabbing the water as well as the Psychic. Putting them onto the Kyogre. Which means now we can switch cards into Kyogre. Use that Aqua Storm. Discarding 5. 250 on each, KOing that Arceus V-Star, which means now we get the last final 2 prizes, being Switch Card and Artisan. So, with that being said, guys, I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, do me a favor, 3 things. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on post notifications. And if you did enjoy it, share the video with a friend. As always, I want to thank you for the support and just everything you guys have done. You guys have been awesome. But with that being said, that's it for today, and I will catch you guys in tomorrow's video. Later.